Hello again, friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to your Sunday's Talking Town, where we will look back at yesterday's game that sadly finished Ipswich Town 0, Everton 2. I've titled it, You Can't Defend Like That, and we'll talk about that through the course of the show. But as always, we can't do it without you wonderful people at home getting involved in our live chat, as many of you are already doing so. Nice to see you on this rainy, cold Sunday afternoon, reflecting the mood a little bit, it has to be said. Social media obviously has been not fun, but has been interesting to read over the last 24 hours. But how are you thinking? How are you feeling? Shape the conversation through the show. It really is a fan show for fans by fans. So shape our conversation. Get your comments in and we'll try and feature them, talk about them. And I've already dropped the link early doors. So if you do want to come on the platform and have your say, because after all, who else can say what you're thinking other than you? You are more than welcome. You don't need a webcam, just a microphone, although we do prefer obviously a webcam as well. But please do come on the show and have your say. FTA, if you're watching, whenever you're watching, comment for that algorithm. Let us know your thoughts and feelings. Mike Baker, one of our wonderful YouTube members, you can do so by hitting the join button. Says, real world question mark. Half our fan base needs to get in the real world. If anyone honestly thought we wouldn't be struggling, then this is your real world moment. I have to say, Mike, I do tend to lean into agreeing with you there, because through the course of the summer, we had, mid-table. We've heard, European places up for grabs, conversations throughout the course of the summer. But is this the real, your expectation meeting the real world? And this is the Premier League. It's going to be an uphill battle every single week. Do we have to adapt? Do we have to change how we approach things? We'll, of course, cover that throughout the course of the show. Lynn says, it's a bit of a job to have flowing football with half the squad on international duty almost every other week or so, it seems. Gives the guys a break. And Mike Baker again, afternoon, all negativity, and more negativity. That is today's forecast. We wanted the Prem, and now it's not going our way. Fans in meltdown. Welcome to Premier League. Heads down and keep going up the town. Joining me, first of all, is Mr. Matthew Phillips. Matt, welcome in. How are you? Is the weather reflecting your mood this afternoon?
I'm all right, to be honest with you. Yeah, it is raining here in Essex, but yeah, I mean, look, we did the show yesterday, didn't we? We did the post-match show yesterday, and I'm probably still the same. And you just called it there, and we mentioned it yesterday. Our expectations are now meeting the reality of the Premier League, and it's a humbling experience. Not helped, I don't think, by Ipswich Town fans completely underestimating the opposition we're playing week in, week out. West Ham, Everton. How's that worked out? We've lost 4-1 and 2-0. So, yeah. But as I said yesterday as well, and I said to Colin this morning, we are victims of our own success a little bit. We've had so much so quickly. 200 goals almost, 200 points almost over 2 seasons. Now we're out of our depth. Massively out of our depth. And that's no one's fault, really. It's just the fact that the trajectory of this club has skyrocketed.
Yes.
Under American ownership, Ashton leadership, McKenna management. And now we're in the deep end, Martin, and we can't touch the floor. That's the problem.
Yeah. And I read an Athletic article yesterday with the town ownership, and they said it's a rocket ship and we're holding on to the wings. And that very much is where we are. Several players that started and finished the game yesterday were with us in League One. And whether you like it or not, when you look at the fixture list as opposing fans, Ipswich Town are the whipping boys of the league. They are the team people are looking at and going, right, that's 3 points at Portman Road, that's 3 points at home when Town turn up. There are no Forest Greens in this level. There are no Lincolns. There are no Cheltenhams. No disrespect to any of those football clubs, but there are no get-right games at this level. In fact, we're probably the get-right team for other people. And the expectation coming to the season was so high, but we haven't got the foundation. Like Southampton, for example, been in this league more recently than us, have a little bit of a foundation of players that have experience at this level, have been at this level. We haven't. We're learning on the job, and we'll get better with time on task. But there are no get right games. Next week Brentford, that ain't a get right game. West Ham wasn't a get right. There are no teams. And before I get any further, don't forget we are partnered with SolarWise. Be wise this autumn and wins up. Be SolarWise. Give Shane a call on 01206 628 544. That's 01206 628 544. Be wise. Be SolarWise. Get your roof checked for free. Would it be wise, Matt, to lead into that, for us to look at adapting how we set ourselves up. Look at Sean Dyche, for example. Defend the width of your box, be solid, be compact. Is it time Town maybe look at doing so? Was there too many times yesterday where there was huge gaps between every part of our team, every department of our team? Are we too open? Are we at home? You want to be expansive, of course, but you also equally need to get points. And there's been lots of talk about Russell Martin needing to adapt. Does Kieran McKenna need to adapt a little bit?
Yeah, massively. I think he does. Yeah. And I think, what's been successful for us through League One and the Championship and the style of play we've seen and that kind of fast-paced passing that has led to us scoring, like I said earlier, and almost 200 goals in 2 seasons is not working in the Premier League. And no. I don't understand why we would go toe-to-toe with clubs that can do what we do, but better.
With better players.
With better calibre of players. Point in case, right? Yesterday, watching match today, Fulham Villa. What did Fulham do? They were good passing side, good mid-table side in the Premier League. What did they do at Craven Cottage? Keeper launches it long, down to Jimenez, 1 touch, it's in the back of the net. No one's like going, well, there wasn't the lead-up play and there wasn't the low block and blah, blah, blah. All that nonsense. They've gone 1 up through a long ball. So, and as Jonathan Pearce said, there's still he was commentating on the game, said there's still a place for more direct football in the top flight of England. And I think Ipswich need to adapt to that. Because what are our strengths, right? We've got some pace in Wes Burns, Amari Hutchinson. We've got the physicality of Delap. All those players are in the final third of the pitch. It makes sense to me to go to the assets, the weapons that you've got that can hurt players more quickly. And Muric can do that with the distribution. And look, we lose 2-0 yesterday. I went under the radar. I thought he played quite well yesterday. Made some good saves. But of course, you lose 2-0 and he's not the talking point, is he? He's not saved you any points. But it just seems to me that whilst we have our identity, we need to go to the plan B and the plan C and don't be afraid of using that long ball. But it's not on trend, is it? Because you think long ball, you think Warnock, you think McCarthy. It doesn't have to be that way. When we played that Shakhtar Donetsk in Austria, where he was, Martin, back in the summer, you quite like the fact we were getting the ball, albeit long, not Jack Charlton style, long ball.
No,
right?
no.
But you were getting the ball out quicker, out through the midfield. And the midfield was very slow yesterday. I mean, we'll come to
They're overrun, Matt. They're being overrun.
I mean, look, Phillips made exactly the same mistake yesterday as he did against
He doesn't
West Ham.
start games well, does he? He does not start games well, does Phillips?
I would. If Cahoust and Luongo weren't injured, I think there was probably an argument now to sit Phillips down. I mean, he doesn't look like a £43 million player who earns 150 grand a week.
I mean, bloody hell. I thought he wasn't as bad as I think he was bad as yesterday. People make him out to be. I thought he grew into the game. He doesn't start games well. That's the second game in consecutive manner.
He was England International Player of the Year 3 years ago. Start the game well.
Yeah, we can't be fickle. 3 weeks ago, we're all bigging up. Phillips. We've got people on the show saying, "Oh, how's Phillips doing?" We're going, "Oh, he's doing well. He's growing."
He's gone downhill.
Look, we do have to adapt a little bit, and I think we can still stick to our principles of being expansive, but there has to be a time and a place. And yet again, yesterday, Matt, our defending is tragic, woeful, even at under 11 level. Like whatever happened to the clear your lines? Like the second goal or the first goal, for example, with Wes Burns and Dara O'Shea. Dara O'Shea, okay, he's headed it back. I would have liked maybe headed out for a corner, old fashioned, I know, but he's headed it back. We've now got to. What we've got to do as a team now is deal with what we've got. And we can't bring it down in our own box. We can't think about what we're going to do. It has to be hooked clear for a throw. It has to be got rid of. They can't score with the ball in row Z with Gavin Law and his cup of coffee or Sean O'Halloran and his cup of coffee. Like if they've got the ball, Everton can't score. Villa, Jacob Greaves playing a pass across his box. If that goes out for a throw or a corner, Villa don't score. It's simple mistakes that we've got to really sort of eliminate from the game, because at this level, as it was proved, they don't need a second whiff at a goal. They need one chance, and that ball's hitting the back of your net before you can say anything.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, Crunch gave me a call on his way home last night, so he's exactly the same as you. Why didn't O'Shea head it out for a corner? So he heads it back to Burns. What does Burns do? Miskick it. He miskicks it, trying to play it across the box again.
Well, I think his thought process is, do I bring it in play or do I get rid of it? And when you're caught in that no man's land of hesitation, the Everton players just say, well, if you don't want it and you don't want it, bang, exactly. I'll have it, 1-0. And he's a quality player, by the way. Absolute quality player.
Yeah, he was very good, wasn't he? And Mike from the Trinity podcast said he was decent, didn't he? I mean, he had been struggling with an injury. He'd come back from the Senegal meet up with an injury that in the iron. Unfortunately, he plays the game and scores. But yeah, you can probably get away with some of these mistakes in the Football League. You can't
in the Premier League.
In the Premier League.
So,
I mean,
so get rid of it, clear your lines, and then play in their half. I don't mind our aggressiveness with our whole back line in their half. Yeah. I don't mind that. I want to be aggressive in their half. I want to play, like the move we had with Jack Clark scuffed the shot. And again, like Jacob Greaves' header at West Ham. If it goes in, different story, potentially. Yeah. But we're not creating chances. When we do, we're not taking them. But let's play in their half. Before you even get to the conversation, Matt, about formations and do you change it and do you bring an extra midfield player in or go to throw it at the back, you've got to eliminate what is junior level mistakes.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And, if you want to play the game in their half, get the ball into their half much quicker than what we are at the moment. I think we outpassed Everton yesterday, but it counts for nothing. You lose the game.
Stat pad.
Yeah, the stat pad, 2-0. Yeah, absolutely. McKenna, I mean, look, nothing we can do about it. It's going to be up to McKenna and his staff and his players to be able to adapt to the scenarios. The best we can do is go and support the side. Clark's an interesting one to me because I came out of the ground yesterday thinking he's like, when he's not on it, he looks just like a luxury player that you can't really afford. I think
he's a confidence player, isn't he?
I think there's probably an argument for Broadhead to start at Brentford next week, but then flip the coin there. Like you say, he gets the chance in the first half, balloons it wide. Had he connected with that like he did at Sunderland at the top of the year, it would have been a very different game for him. And, he wins the penalty. That wasn't given.
We'll talk
Fine margins for him, wouldn't he? You could have come out going, what an impact he had on the game. Scores, got us the pen. We come out thinking, looked a bit anonymous in the second half yesterday. Maybe should drop out the side. That shows you the fine margins of success and failure in the Premier League, I think.
He's a confidence player for me, Jack Clark, and he's a quality player, but he's a confidence player. When it's going well for him, he's on top of his game. And like so many of our players, we just need that ball to fall, and it did fall to him. And that's us at our best. That move, if that's converted, you're seeing that on social media, Match of the Day, etc., and they're raving about it because it's a really quality move. But that's the opportunity that you can play, Matt. That's the times when you can be what we are, a good football inside. But there are times when the ball falls in your box, you've got to be safety first. Because at this level, goals will kill you. And when you're not creating the chances, when you're low on the XG as we are, and I hate XG, but let's use it. When you're low on it, the last thing you want to do is be gift wrapping goals to opposition. Because you've already got a mountain to climb. You've already got, Everest to climb. You don't want to make it even bigger. And we're doing that week in, week out. And Mike Baker says if Clark had taken his early chance, I think the game would have had a different outcome. Got to be more clinical in front of goal because we're always going to concede a couple. Let's talk about the penalty. I've got Frank coming in just a second, but that penalty, for me, I've seen it live and I've seen it on replay. What are we doing? What are we doing overturning that? I don't understand football anymore. What are we doing?
Funny you should say that because I didn't think it was a pen in real time either.
Penalty all day long. So I've looked at it and I can't work out where the on-field decision is incorrect enough to say definitively we're going to overturn that. Whatever happened to on-field decision stays unless it's clear and obvious.
Well, they felt it was a clear and obvious, didn't they? It was Graham Scott, wasn't it? They said was in the VAR box, and he
was he the referee that apologised about Preston?
I don't know. I can't remember that. Don't bring me back to Preston. God. Yeah, but when he went over and looked at the screen, I thought, oh, bloody hell, he might actually.
You knew it was over.
Yeah. I know, I thought he might give it. I mean,
I knew it would be overturned. I knew it the moment he come over.
What I didn't realise was the screen was actually in the cobbled. Didn't realise that.
I was giving him some words of advice, shall we say.
I think, it would be interesting to see what the fans were saying who were right close to that screen.
Well, I was on the upper and I was trying my best to give him some words of advice.
I thought he might give it when he went and looked at the screen. But, yeah, I mean, look, in real time, I thought Clark had hit the back of Neil's leg and that transpired is what it was.
Yeah, but Neil put himself in a position to do that.
Well, he's on the pitch. He's not actually made any connection with Clark. Clark's kicked him. He can put himself between Clark and the ball.
But was it a clear and obvious one? Because whatever happened to the clear and obvious?
I think he probably was. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think the referee had a good view of it, didn't he? It was only a matter of yards away. But
I'm with George, Matt. McNeil hasn't touched the ball. and has made contact in doing to stopping Clark from shooting, surely
Yeah,
when you look at it,
you can
has
run
to be a
across him.
penalty.
This is where I think now Kieran's under a little bit of pressure. Rarely have we seen him in the last couple of seasons question referees, or he's always been top draw with that. Yesterday, now we're under pressure. We've not won for 8 games. We're on the periphery of the relegation zone. Confidence is low. He was clutching at straws a little bit. I think McNeil's at every right to put himself between Clark on the ball, and Clark connected with him. And by the way, the match officials agreed with that view because they didn't give the pen.
Well, one did, and then one got talked into being overturned.
Well, he goes and looks at it again, and he overturns.
The problem with football, though, Matt, is, and any sport, NFL included, if you look at something enough times in slow motion, you can come to any conclusion.
Agreed.
In my opinion.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, agreed. That is one of the drawbacks. But you know, one of them decisions will go for us during the season. So don't get too hung up on it, particularly. But
will it go for us?
I hope so.
Yeah.
These things even out, don't they? Or was that just a football cliche?
You mentioned Dwight McNeil. We concede from a set piece, which again we're very poor at. You know, we have to get much better at. Obviously, we've brought in a set piece coach, Mark Hudson. We have to get much better at set pieces as a full stop, both attacking and defending them. You raised
the point a couple of weeks back, didn't you? Has he been a good appointment over 8 games so far?
So far, no. So far, no.
I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, it's not just offense, as they would say in the NFL. It's also defense as well, isn't it? I agree with you. You've not seen much impact from that yet, given the amount of time you have between games in order to work on this kind of stuff.
Well, when you're a team on the bottom of the table, and let's face it, guys, we're going to be. You've got to work on those marginal situations because they're big moments in it, particularly when you can't create chances. It's an opportunity to put the ball in the box, but equally you've got to defend it well. And we don't defend the reset. The ball comes in, it gets cleared from the corner, and 4 Town players, Matt, are drawn to Dwight McNeil. 4 of them. Yeah. None of them make a tackle on him. None of them get close to him, but 4 are drawn to him like a magnet. Wolfie and Burgess are marking each other. Any way you look at that goal, it's a defensive mess.
Yeah, no, I totally give you. He's good, that McNeil. He's got physicality, hasn't he? He's tall. He drops into really good positions. I mean, it's all roots through him, really. I'm surprised he's not even had an England call up. He's a quality player, and in some respects, we don't actually have like a Dwight McNeil kind of player in that role, do we? In fact, we don't really know who our number 10 is. We've been umming and ahhing about, is he going to be Amari? Should it be Smodic? Should it be Chaplin? And then we kind of debated this in the show yesterday, didn't we, about the subs and everything. But McNeil's kind of like, he's the puppet master, isn't he? He pulls all the strings for them. And, you know, he's instrumental in that second goal, like you say. Hell of a finish from Keane, considering he's a centre-half. Like his brother.
Finish. Muric has no chance, does he? Muric has absolutely zero chance.
Yeah.
And I know it's not a sound we want to hear, but the sound it makes when it hits the net is very satisfying. So
yeah. I mean, on paper, I said Friday night, on paper, they look quite an ordinary side, really, and they've been very ordinary in the lead up to these games, and you know, dropping 2-goal leads. But yesterday had a different vibe to it, didn't it? As soon as we went, like you say, as soon as we went 2 down, this team ain't scoring 3 goals. Can't even get 2 shots on. 2 shots on target the whole game yesterday? Chaplin and Taylor, and they were all lit up to the 80th minute.
And I think we have to take some of the ingredients that they have and work them to our disposal. You know, how often did Everton play in their own half? Very little did you see Everton have the ball in their own half. They were often, when they played in your half. And that's obviously a Sean Dyche staple, you know, defend the width of your box and don't play in your half. And I'm sure he'd say he wants to be more expansive and it's a situational thing. Well, that's also our situation. And we have to learn to get the grips with what we can do at this level and what we can't. Because for me, right now, it's just all about, as it has been since the summer, it's all about survival. It's all about getting your foot in the door, keeping yourself in the division, and then you can be expansive. Then you can start to evolve. Then you can start to do the things you were doing 18 months, 2 years ago really well. But at the moment, it's about getting experience, because we are an inexperienced Premier League team.
It's cost a lot of money, by the way.
Yeah, but that's football. Football players cost a lot of money, even the ones that are up and coming as we've brought in. But there are good moments to our play. You know, Muric, for example, I know he gets a lot of stick. I thought he was fairly decent. Yes, I had a few lapsadaisical moments that you want your goalkeeper not to have.
Like one with the corner.
Not quite sure what was going on there. I thought Burgess, for a first league start, having been a player that 18 months ago, many people were saying couldn't play in the Championship, but then obviously did and played really well. I thought Premier League wise, see, he to me is what I want my back line to do. Edit, kick it, clear it. It don't have to be a quality pass. It doesn't even have to be a pass to a blue shirt. It can be a pass to a spectator, but he clears his lines, and we need more of that a little bit at the moment. We need a little bit more
he
of
done
that.
good.
I thought he did okay.
He was good. He done all right, considering he's gone to Adelaide, then into Japan, and as we rightly said, apparently he came back Thursday, as we kind of predicted on the Friday show. So he's had a lot of international. He's travelled around the world basically.
Yeah,
he done all right. Yeah, no, he done well. But I mean, look, there was a question mark there when we saw the starting lineup, wasn't there? You've got, what was it, 5? Correct me if I'm wrong. 5 League One players
I believe it was,
starting.
Yeah.
That's not ideal. I think there was more on the pitch at the end. I was debating it with Rich earlier. 6 or 7 at the end.
It was, but that's where we are as a football club, isn't it? That's where we are as a football club.
Yeah,
that's the reality.
I mean, it is reality. I mean, at the moment, we're going to get relegated. We'll either finish bottom or second from bottom, and that if you don't like that, then that's what's happening at the moment. It's between us and Southampton, and who will be the third. At least we're getting these steep learning curves early, and we have drawn half of our matches, so it's not the worst stat in the world, particularly. But I still don't see where the win's going to come from. But then it might come as a surprise at somewhere. Could it come at Brentford next week? Not sure.
You see, I don't think it's panic stations. I think it's. I think as Mike Baker said at the start of the show, really well. It's real world meeting expectation. Expectations. Expectations were so high coming into the season.
Been humbled. Been humbled.
Well, you've been brought back down to earth.
Yeah.
You've been. We are the Luton, the Sheffield United, the Burnley. We are. The teams that when you're doing your accumulators on a Saturday afternoon, you normally would have put down to get beat, because that's the perception and that's the reality. It is an uphill battle. You are every single game's a cup final, because every single game you're expected to get beaten at this level. I was
walking to the station yesterday and saw someone I know from down our road. He said, "Oh, you going Portland Road, mate?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I've got you down for a win in Miyaka." I was like, "Oh no." We obviously still had a good reputation up until 5 o'clock yesterday.
But there are positivity, as I say, it's not chuck the baby out with the bathwater. It's not doom and gloom. It's reality. It's a defeat, and obviously those hurt. But for me, Matt, it's the manner in which we're giving away the goals. Because
it's the manner of the goals is there. Because the effort is there, and the mindset is there. I think, it's just and we're not
being carved open as much as people perhaps would have thought.
As we said earlier, we're out of our depth. I mean,
we're beating ourselves.
If you start 5 League One players who was in our League One campaign, not that they're League One players now, but you start 5 players that was in that League One campaign against Everton, solid mid-table side, regardless of everyone thinking they were relegation candidates. That was only because of the points deficits they got. You're out of your depth. We are out of our depth, and as we said earlier,
we're learning. We're learning to swim at this level. We are swimming with sharks against the tide.
Yeah, it's a good way of putting it. Yeah,
with shark paste strapped to your back. They want. Yeah,
but where we're going to pick up a win, I've got God only knows.
See, for me, that will come. I think when you least expect it. Another concern.
Who you pinpointing that then?
This is the Premier League, Matthew. It's any given Saturday league.
You've got Tottenham coming up. They demolished the team that demolished us 4-1. I mean, it's just like you say. It's a really good description. Sharks. We're swimming with sharks at the moment, little goldfish.
Yeah, and we are.
The big ocean.
Yeah. And
we've earned the right to be there, by the way. I don't want to be all sort of like doom and gloom on everything. We have earned the right to be there with 2 fantastic, history-defining seasons. But maybe we've just gone. The elevation's been too quick, maybe, and we are finding out early in these 8 games, the errors that we're making. But for people to say sort of like, we were discussing yesterday, if only we can cut out that mistake, I don't see it happening. I don't see it. It's very easy for us to sit here and go, if they can cut out silly errors, they ain't going to cut out silly errors, are they? I mean, that's going to take months. It's going to take months. The only thing we can hold on to is we play everybody once, and then in the second half of the season, maybe we can see some improvements. We almost saw that when we got relegated under Burley. That second half of the season, we actually went to Goodison and won 2-1. I think it was the Matt Holland free kick. They showed it on the screen yesterday. That team went from bottom to 12th in the table in the back end of the season. Obviously, it eventually gets relegated, unfortunately. But they learned lessons across that season. Whether or not we can, I don't know. I mean, everyone puts their faith in Kieran, don't they? But that to me is unrealistic as well. He's had 2 great seasons for us in the Football League. He's untried at the Premier League. He's against world elite managers here, and if he does foul, then so be it. He's got the credit in the
Well,
bank. Anyway,
relegation wouldn't be it would
no,
it
you go
wouldn't be
down with the strength. You go down with the strength of finance, don't you? Which we never had previously.
No, exactly. You play the weakest link, you bank the money, and you've got a good squad. You will lose some, of course, but I'm not ready to have this relegation acceptance or relegation. I still think you have to be better than obviously 3 other teams. I think we over the course of the season, I think we will be. I still believe we will be.
Who's the 3 you'd have going down them?
Leicester, Southampton, and Wolves at the moment. That's more. Palace are in there, but
Cooper's doing a good job, mate. Cooper's doing a good job at Leicester.
He is. He is.
They're on full. They've won 2, drawn 3, lost 3, scored 12.
But I just don't think the world's ending. I think
they're 5 points ahead of us.
I'm really frustrated by the. Yeah, no, I'm just saying Leicester because it 13 came to my brain. Did you ask me on the spot? This is why you should always record your shows, folks at home, because then you can answer it and re-edit it. But I just feel like the world's not ending. We have to adapt to the world we're in, and we're not doing that as fast as I wanted us to. But I think with our manager we will, and I think as players, you say they won't cut out those mistakes. I think they will. When you learn, you haven't got as much time in the Championship. Wes Burns in your 6-yard box. When you learn, you've got to take your opportunity. When they'll learn these things as they go.
I hope you're right.
You hope. I hope. I say with the most optimistic voices.
Then you go back to Calvin Phillips. 2 weeks ago, does the pass against West Ham, sells Greaves short. Does exactly the same 2 weeks later yesterday. So Wolfenden short. I mean, Calvin Lewin should have scored that. Really, it was a good save from you.
It was a good save from Juric, And what concerns me, and we'll bring Frank in a second, is the Hutchinson conversation in that 10, because obviously we've spoken about the show before. McKenna seems, and this is where I'm concerned with it. McKenna seems stuck to the principle that he's a 10. But for me, at this point of his career, at this point of where we are as a club, he wouldn't be my 10 of choice.
You're going to stick Smodics in him.
I would stick Smodics in there. I even saw glimpses of Connor. One of our best opportunities yesterday was a throwback to League One, corner from Leith Davis, cut back to Connor Chaplin. Which doesn't scream great for the set piece coach. That one of our best moves is the one we did in League One and the Championship.
Before you was employed,
before you were employed, Mr. Hudson. But that's my concern, because I love Amari Hudson in space. Like when he moves to the right and he gets to full back 1-on-1 and he can turn him inside out. Love that, Amari. In the middle, has he got enough strength, energy? Because like yesterday, the Everton number 10 or Everton midfield players, they were around that pitch everywhere. They were so busy.
I
really liked it. That was one of their biggest positives, that Everton players were literally everywhere. Is he at this point of his career the 10 we currently lead? That's my biggest concern. Is that we seem wedded to that principle of he's the 10. And we're not going to move away from that. Does that concern you?
Well, it's a little bit. Yeah, I don't know why you bought Smodics in 27 goals last season. He's not even the first sub they made yesterday, attacking sub, was he?
And again, he's on the left, really, isn't he? He's that 10 hybrid left role. It's
Yeah, I mean, Sean's saying here, look, he came on for England on 21s on the right, got 3 assists and a goal. Yeah, but you're not playing Everton, are you? I mean, look at McNeil. He plays in that 10 role for Everton and has a much more leadership role, I think, like we said earlier. It seems all roads go through him.
The thing is, Matt, Amari will be a brilliant number 10.
Well, he can be. He's a
just not at this point. Just not at this point of his career.
No. Exactly.
He's a young player who's raw, developing, learning. He will be a fantastic. I'll go as far as say world-class number 10 in years to come. The problem is, I ain't living in years to come. I'm living in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, his attributes is pace, and he can shoot from distance, can't he? But I don't know, he seems to get caught up too easily trying to beat defenders, which is why like for example yesterday, just taking it that while we're talking about the right hand side, which we all think Amari is probably more better suited in, he ends the game playing there. When I said yesterday that I felt probably Wes had reached his ceiling as a Premier League player, and I still stand by that. But again, the fine margins of that. Who put the ball in for Clark to try to balloon it over? Wes did. And again, what was that? What led to that really good move? It was the counter attack and the use of pace, of which Amari gives you on that right hand side as well. Just don't feel like we're using that enough. We're just not really using it enough. But I think Kieran's confused there. I don't think he knows what he wants to do.
No, I think he does. He wants to play Omari as the 10, and he's sort of comments on Friday, and if I read them right and listened to them right, sort of suggesting, that's what he views Omari as. And
we've seen in over 8 games though, we're not creating chances or scoring enough goals. We've got 6 in 8 now. So clearly that person in that attacking midfield role, that central attacking midfield role, isn't working. I don't see why you wouldn't play last season's championship top scorer that you brought in for 10 mil plus in that role. Because he's good in the box.
You see,
he would have probably scored. Do you think he would have scored the Clark chance yesterday, Smodix? That seems bread and butter to him at Blackburn last year.
Hands down. Yeah, hands down, Matt. Hands down. And his lack of minutes, as Gavin says, Smodix is wasted on the bench, and he is wasted on the bench.
Yeah, I'll take it.
But you can't play them all, and they've all got to take the opportunity when it comes. And, you could argue, obviously, Jack Clark, you say, had the chance, didn't take it. Do you then you don't want to get into a habit where you're constantly rotating the squad?
No,
exactly. You didn't take the chance, you had your chance, you didn't take it, somebody else comes in.
He was good against, we liked what we saw with him against Villa, and he had the cameo against Fulham. He looked quite good against, was it Southampton? He put the cross in for the Hurst header that leads to the Morsey goal. So he's had his moments. I'm not writing him off particularly, but when it's backs to the walls, you're 2 down, you're on the periphery of the relegation zone, you can't really afford for people to become anonymous. And he did a little bit, but like I said earlier at the top, his game could have been so much different. He could have scored. He could have won us a pen.
Do you know what I would do? And I've been sort of playing around with this morning. I would look to make a tactical switch, and I would look to, if you're going to beat us, you're going to beat us by getting around us. So I'd look to play a more solid central formation, perhaps a 3 at the back, play 2 holding midfield players, play a player ahead of those 2. And then 1 up front, or play 2 10s that are central. And Davis and Clark, for example, are your wing backs, and they're your width. Because very much, I feel at this point, but perhaps, and I don't know if you agree or if those at home agree, defensively, we should be all about defending the width of our box, solid bodies in the middle. And if you're going to beat us, you've got to get the ball out wide and put crosses in the box. And you've got to try and play the numbers game and hope that when the ball comes in the box, you've got more numbers than they have centrally. Because currently, yesterday, what I saw, there was too many gaps between Delap and Omari and Phillips and Morsey. And Phillips and Morsey, Phillips more than Morsey gets a lot of criticism off yesterday's game. But it was like Jon Snow in that Game of Thrones scene when he pulls the sword out and there's 1,000 horses running towards him.
Yeah.
West Ham was the same. Those 2 are facing players running at them. Not just 1 player, 3, 4 players. The space between our lines, it's too big. It's too big.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, look, Alan Shearer said on Matchday last night, he said the Everton midfield was too streetwise for the Ipswich midfield. And I
didn't see that. Did he really?
No. He said, yeah, because you had that Decore in there, didn't you? And Idris Sagaye. They didn't have to work that hard actually to have the impact over our midfield. And, Morsey has gone on the ride from League One through to the Premier League, and Phillips has, seen his stock in the basement a little bit and he's trying to rebuild. But whether or not he's what we need at the moment, I don't know. I've not seen anything from him over the last 2 games that makes me think. I actually think if Houston Luongo was fit, they'd get the shout now.
Yeah, but you can't isolate. We'll bring Frank in. I'm too sad, but we'll do it in a second, Frank. Sorry,
they're pulling the strings though, right? They're pulling the strings for us in the midfield.
You can't isolate Phillips and Morsey, because it is a partnership. Those 3, including the 10, whoever the 10 is, that's the partnership. That's the 3 that have got to be together as 3 defenders as a team and attackers as a team, as they say. And like Chaplin yesterday, you saw his strength when he came on. He held off a couple of Everton players and held the ball up well, won a couple of free kicks. You've got to have a bit of physicality about you in that 10.
Yeah, he's not had a look in either, has he, Connor? He's our top scorer over the last 2 seasons as well. He's not had a look in either. It just suggests to me that I don't think Kieran is really decided on what that, other than Delap, what the 3 is behind him, to be honest with you.
I disagree. I think he has. I think he's settled on Omari's his 10. He's bought him as a 10. He views him as a 10. He isn't going to move away from. He may do next week, and I'll look stupid, which isn't always hard to do, really. But I just think he's. I think he's
question mark that right side though, isn't it? Because like we say, Burns probably he's out of his depth. Benny we haven't seen enough of, but doesn't look like he's a bit like a Ben Johnson, really, other than one that we've spent 8 million on. I don't think he doesn't look like he does anything spectacularly well.
But again, if you go to a 3, you could play Johnson Matt at right back. Sorry to cut across you, because he's not great defensively so far we've seen, but he can go forward. And
the point I was going to make was that out of those three players, Amari, Ogbenny, Burns, Amari's probably the best suited there, and you play your Smuddicks in the middle. That seems logical. And then whoever goes onto that left, is it Clark or is it a Broadhead? I don't know. There's lots of question marks, which is why we find ourselves winless, I think.
John Shores says, "Can I ask a question?" Of course you can, John. Anytime. We always try to take the conversation around you guys at home and talk about what you're talking about. So John says, "Can I ask a question? After 2 great seasons, when does the honeymoon period end in the Premier League and games become a chore? As a Leeds fan, happened to me the moment Bielsa got the sack." Funny you should say that, because I thought yesterday that it was flat building up to the game. There was a lack of, I in my perception, I felt a lack of buzz. Then of course you had the Wi-Fi issue, which I'm sure.
That was so we were talking about this, because we had no issue. Well, I didn't have any issue. Me and Mike wasn't having an issue getting into the Pioneer yesterday, but it was on the Cobbold side, was it? And the North Stand.
The queue was right back through the car park on the Cobbold
really?
side.
Wow.
Yeah, huge. I wouldn't say it's a chore, but I would say, like yesterday, right when we went a goal down. Normally in the Championship, when we went a goal down, the place would erupt and go and clap and roar, and because you knew you believed in this group of players that would get you back in any game. When we go a goal down now, I don't know about anybody else, but it feels to me like it's oh God, here we go.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It did have that. I don't think that delay did help the atmosphere yesterday. It certainly wasn't to the level that we've seen in previous games. I would agree with that. Other games are sure, not particularly. We wanted to be here. So I think, and I did say in the summer, for me, really, Kieran has surpassed all expectations that I had. I had question marks over him in League One, as everyone likes to remind me on a weekly basis in the comments. But so for me, really, he has got a bit of a free pass for me this year, even though I can be critical about tactics and what have you and selections, because he's got us back into the Premier League super quick. And probably that is now what our downfall is. We've got there too quickly. And as I said earlier, we're now in deep waters and we can't touch the bottom. And we're struggling a little bit.
Disagree. I don't think you can never get there too quickly. I think when you get there is when you get there. But maybe it's a case of, like colds, they're catching. When you get fans that perhaps aren't regulars, aren't every week, aren't able to go for whatever reason, and they don't see us as often, or they expect something much higher than what your more traditional season ticket holders expect.
Expectation again, yeah.
Maybe them, because negativity is catching, isn't it? Let's be honest. Moans and groans are catching. Yeah. And maybe that's sort of a reverberating, big word for me, around.
Well said.
Thank you very much. Around the state. I don't know. It just felt leading up to it a little bit different and it should do, because we are swimming against sharks and we are, finding it hard. Let's be honest. As you say, out of our depth, I just say we're finding it hard. But we'll bring Frank in and see what he says. Christo FNIB says, too many changes all of a sudden. Some players may feel put out having helped us get up to Premier League. No, he's not lost the dressing room, Chris. No, of course he hasn't. No. That was his back end of his comment. No, not a chance.
Who knows what goes on behind the scenes? I'll be very surprised. I mean,
of course he hasn't.
What Kieran's built there, it's phenomenal. I mean, the fact that we did back-to-back promotions, and that's few and far between in football history, just goes to show what he's done. I just hope to God he can turn it around. I mean, if he does,
he will. This is my only glimmer of hope, is that we've got a manager that is adaptable, is changeable, and will do what needs to be done. Like we're not.
As we
not under today, previous managers where you think, he's a 4-5-1 or he's a 4-3-3 or he's never going to change. McKenna's proven time and time again that he could change and he will change.
As we sit here today, then, all right, on the periphery of the relegation zone, winless in 8, do you think if we do stay up this season from this position, whatever points we need, would that be a greater achievement than the back-to-back, do you think?
Yes, of course it will.
I mean, because that was a hell of an effort over 2 seasons, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The points.
I think they'll be equal. I think they're equal. I don't think one's better than the other, perhaps, but perhaps they're equal. But I'm not going to stomach people sort of questioning our manager. I'll question the 10. I'll question the perhaps how we set ourselves up at times. But you can't. What you can never do is question the manager.
No, I agree. I totally agree. No, I totally agree.
The man has literally turned water into wine, or in this case, turned Forest Green into Premier League paydays. Like,
and no one knew who he was when he joined. Remember, we were like, "Who's this guy?"
We are where we are.
Guys,
The only thing that surprises me is the manner in which we're conceding the goals. I expected us to lose games by being cut apart and totally outplayed. It's the manner in which we're conceding that's really grating on me a little bit. It's the softness to it. It's the hand wrapped, gift wrapped with a little kiss on the bow. Here's a goal. Here's, that isn't Ipswich.
Well, we've said in the Championship before, some teams have not had to try too hard or knock on the door too often to score against us. And we said that in the Championship last season. And in a way, we're doing it again. It's interesting there. Was it Teddy whose comment just came up there about January editions? I mean, if you're cut adrift around near the bottom, who's want to come to Ipswich? Makes it difficult, I think, because you're going to lose your Premier League status to going back to the Football League. I mean, we're already seeing a little bit of a gap now, aren't we? Was it Everton on 8 ahead of us? We're on 4. There's already like 6 points between us and mid-table. We're already 5 behind Leicester. So there's a little gap forming already. I mean, these things suddenly creep up on you, and then it's difficult to pull back round.
Yeah. John Shaw says Southampton, Ipswich and Leicester, their goal at their side to be 17th. The golfing class is to be bridged slowly. Then the newly promoted clubs become the prey. Yeah, John's totally right.
Yeah, he's totally right.
Yeah. At the moment, we're the goldfish in the shark tank, and you only become the shark by being in there a couple of seasons and adapting. And 8 wins, says Mike D. Just need to have a purple patch, which I think we're going to turn this around, guys. Be positive with it, but also it is right to discuss the negative aspects.
Where's 8 wins coming from, though? Where are they coming from? Tell me where are they coming from? I'd love to go along with it. It sounds brilliant, but I look at the fixtures on paper and I think to myself, that's a defeat. That's a defeat. That's a defeat.
I can't. Not right now. That's the problem.
Well, let's just keep positive. No point sitting here being negative, is there? Otherwise, nothing's going to work out. So.
No, another positive obviously is Match Bingo. Play Match Bingo, win cash prizes. Over 18s only, be gamble aware. But each time you do play Match Bingo, you do support the crucial work of the Youth Angling Air Ambulance. Download the app wherever you normally download your apps. Bingo's on there, Premier League games on there. Go and check it out. I know Sean, one of our viewers, has won a significant amount of money. Yeah, he did all right. Yeah.
Treated himself to some shirts in the shop. So yeah, all good.
Which, if you know how much shirts are on Planet Blue, you know how much you want. But play Match Bingo, win cash prizes. Over 18s only, be gamble aware. And before I bring Frank in, what should the beautiful people at home be doing, Matthew, right about now?
If you're enjoying this discussion, if it's giving you comfort because you're a bit depressed after yesterday, like and subscribe. You'll never miss me in the gov on this show.
Nope, you certainly won't. 42 minutes already, Matt. It's flown by, really. It's one of those shows where
company.
And you're always miserable, and I'm giving you company. Frank, welcome in. What are your thoughts on your wonderful, beautiful?
Oh, Frank, he's dropped off.
Well, sorry. Yeah, no, I'm only joking. It was a joke. I wasn't really asleep.
That's not a great look, is it? You can clip that up, Twitter. That's fine.
Take that one out.
Frank, as a man born around the Mersey, was it a bit painful to see Everton beat us yesterday?
Yeah, it was. And in fact, my cousin, John Raftery, who's not he's a fanatical Everton supporter. He's missed only 2 games in 50 years. And he said, I can't wait going to Portman Road again. And I thought, oh, that's nice. And then he was telling me he was in the station. He said, I can't believe how expensive it was. £7.30, he said, for a pint of beer. I think they're ripping up the away supporters, because when I've been in Ipswich, I've never paid that much for a beer.
Station Hotel. They've redone. Me and Mike saw it yesterday. We were over the bridge. They've redone the outside. So I think they've upped the prices to pay for the refurb.
It's not like a breakfast there anymore.
That's London prices, isn't it?
Yeah. London prices, yeah.
It really is. So I think they are ripping off the away supporters. I was astonished.
Well, good, Frank, to be honest with you, because they come in and get 3 points gift wrapped anyway. So yeah, good. Send them home with £8 pints. Up it.
But as somebody suggested, Blas Dog, it was silly errors and a lack of creativity going forward that was the principal reasons why we lost yesterday. There's so many mitigating circumstances. I mean, to lose Jacob Greaves and Axel Tunzabi, doesn't he have a glass washing machine in his house? But anyway...
Gruesome, isn't it? Oh, poor Axel.
But to lose 2 key defenders, and they are very good. I know Jacob Greaves made a horrendous mistake the other week, but prior to that, and mainly, he's been very, very good. But I have to say, Cam Burgess, I thought he played very well yesterday. All the travelling he's done, I thought he looked the part. And Luke Wolfenden, I didn't think was especially bad. I think we talk about the defence, but the first goal was conceded by Wes Burns. Now, some people are suggesting he's not up to it, but remember that goal he scored against Coventry when he bent it round with the outside of his foot. Brilliant goal, and that was worthy of. I think it was our goal of the season, wasn't it? And
one of the greatest goals ever scored at Portman Road, I'd say. Certainly the build up and the finish.
I wish I'd have been there to witness it, but what a wonderful goal that was. So to say that he's not quite up to scratch is a valid argument, but it doesn't mean to say he doesn't have the potential to improve. And I think with regard to Kieran McKenna, he's learning on the job like all the new recruits are. So yeah, he has had experience as a chief coach at Manchester United, but it's not the same as managing a team. So there's many other elements that come into play. And if you look at the percentage ratio of the game yesterday, Ipswich got 55.3% possession. They had 13 shots to 11 from Everton. But the difference here is shots off target, Ipswich 8 and Everton only 3. So these are the fine defining lines between top quality players and players who are almost there. It doesn't mean with time that Ipswich can't do it. I mean, I have to be honest though, for the first time yesterday, I smelt relegation, and I haven't had that vibe since the beginning of the season. And I'm generally fairly optimistic, but I thought really McKenna has to organise things differently. I think Jack Clark it may be a confidence thing with him. But I mean, you know, if that ball had gone in, and it was Wes Burns who created it, in fairness to him, well, it could have been a different story. But juvenile defending was one of the problems. Arno Muric made some good saves, but he's not like Gladkey when it comes to playing out with his feet. He really isn't. A lot of people made that argument at the beginning of the season. Oh, he's just as good. He may even be better. No, he's not. Simple as that. He is not as good as Gladkey with his feet. And also, I'm a little bit disappointed with his distribution because, you know, I think McKenna should adopt what Jonathan Pearce and you suggested, Matt. He should be thinking about a few more long balls because he's got the power to get the ball 3/4 of the way up the pitch effortlessly, in the same way as what was the Czech goalkeeper Thomas Holy. He used to have the same technique, and in fact, it's quite often the goalkeeper at the other end would catch the ball because nobody in between saw it. So I think all these things come into play. I also think if you look at the Brighton project, they've got so many overseas players. Do we have any overseas scouts, and what are they doing? I mean, you know, I'm just wondering why we're obsessed with getting overpriced players from England when we could go to the Netherlands, or we could go to Belgium, or we could do what Brighton do and go to South America, Panama, etc., and start. What's happening to our recruiting policy? We are a Premier League club to all intents and purposes, except we don't have a good scouting system as far as I can see. We're so enclosed in our little world, and the little world is letting us down. You know?
Do you, an Everton fan here, Frank says, from an Everton fan, it was men versus boys. Good luck. You may need it this season. Do you go along with Agent Ancelotti there?
Yeah, completely agree. And the two Everton supporters, my cousin and another relative, contact me, and they both said it was more to do with a lack of a cutting edge, which is becoming more and more apparent with Ipswich, and also our defending, which is, you know, juvenile. And really, there is no argument about our defeat yesterday. Everton thoroughly deserved to win. No argument there. The penalty, that is debatable, but I have to say, although I couldn't see it when I was watching on TV, whether it was a penalty, we went down. I thought, I bet VAR are going to look into this. And when I saw it, only the first time, I thought, that is not a penalty. His foot has gone into the back of McNeil. It is not a penalty in my eyes. And I'm trying to be as balanced as possible with this, but I don't think that was a penalty. And I know you differ on this, but if I was the referee, I would have not given that as a penalty, having reviewed it. And in fairness to the ref, who I respect massively, he gave the penalty, but he probably didn't get a very good view of it. The other argument is when you see it in slow motion 1,000 times, you know, everything looks more suspicious. But as far as I can see, that wasn't a penalty in normal time if you see it from a different angle. So we deserve to lose. We have to regroup. And we have to run against adversity because I don't think they're doing it. What's happened to motivation? What's happened to Connor Chaplin? I think Connor Chaplin should be back in the starting lineup because he had a great relationship with Wes Burns that was almost telepathic. And I think you could bring that back into play. Now, everyone's talking about our championship players, but it was our championship players that got us to where we are. And then they've been largely discarded. Cam Burgess, Luke Wolfenden, Connor Chaplin, Massimo Luongo. I think he's a year younger than Sam Morsey. So I think he if he was fit, should come back into the lineup.
I agree with that.
An argument with Amari Hutchinson, and he's not quite there yet. Well, look, I know I've been critical of Delap, but he's the same age, and look at how he's developed, at the top flight of English football in the Premier League. So it may be a positional thing, because I agree with everybody. Amari Hutchinson should be on the right. That's when he's at his best, and we saw the difference once he was on the right. He was cutting in, and we were all thinking, or at least I was, he's going to have a shot here any time. But maybe that's a confidence thing, because normally when he cuts in, he'd have a whack, and mainly he was looking for other players or crossing the ball in. So all things considered, guys, it is disappointing. But look, we've had 4 draws. Convert those 4 draws into wins, and we have 12 points, and would be 8th with Newcastle. So,
well, yeah, that's one way of looking at it. Frank, have you got a poem for us before I let you go, or have you not got a poem?
I never have poems when we lose. The inspiration is only when we win or draw. So no poem today, I'm afraid.
What's your Frank? Very quickly, mate. Frank, what do you think ahead of Brentford next week? Then, do you think we can get a point at Brentford next week?
Gonna win, mate. Gonna win.
My head is saying we will lose it, but my heart is saying we might sneak a draw or even a win. I think the thing about it with McKenna is he does learn on the job. He learns from his mistakes. It's usually when we think we're going to lose a game that we end up surprising people. Brighton, good example. Who expected that? Aston Villa at home. Who expected that? So the positive side of me is saying, yes, we can get something out of it. The negative side of me is saying probably not. All right.
Frank, appreciate your thoughts.
Look after yourself.
Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Yeah.
Obviously, interesting thoughts there from Frank. I'm not sure Connor Chaplin is quite good enough for the Premier League. I don't know. I've not seen it. But the balance of the 3 behind the lap needs to be addressed. We said it week in, week out. Whether it's Connor, whether it's Sammy, whether it's whoever.
I so want Connor to be good enough for the Premier League. We did debate this last season. Was he Premier League ready? I thought
he might be. We've not seen him.
Yeah, exactly. I say hope he is. He's been so good for us, and he's been one of my favourite signings in the last decade or so. He's been so good for us. Been on this show as well.
I love Connor Chaplin. One of my favourite players.
He's been a great goal scorer for us. I'd love to see him flourish in the Premier League. I'd love to. But I want to see Smodics flourish in the Premier League as well. Yeah. And Amari, and Delap, and Jack Clark. Oh, yeah, do you know what I mean?
What I really liked about Connor yesterday was his strength. He came on and he was strong,
didn't he? Yeah, he wanted to get involved. You could see.
Yeah, and he held the ball up. He protected it. He won a free kick, and you need that, particularly when you're up against it. You need a player like Delap and others to win you a free kick, relieve the pressure, or get you into a dangerous position. And we all know what he can do in front of goal. We saw it in glimpses yesterday with that cutback. Didn't quite connect with it, but you know what Connor gives you. You know what you can get out of him. Is it consistently good enough to the Premier League? As many people say in the chat. They say no. I say I've not seen enough of it to know. But I tell you one thing, Matt, I would not have had Cam Burgess as a Premier League player when we signed him. And here we are.
And here we are. So you just don't know. I tell you, looked good when he come on yesterday. Harry Clark. Yeah. He looked fit. He looked well built. He was getting involved. He was getting forward. He was vocal. That's, whilst we're all here sort of lamenting Axel's accident and everything, maybe Clark is one that you might feature next week. Who knows? Or at some point in the future, because Axel's obviously going to be out for a while. But yes, he's come back from 2 quite big ops on his Achilles, which are nightmare injuries to recover from, because he struggled with it for a season and a half or whatever. Yep. So that was a positive. It's quite interesting, isn't it? Just why it's in my mind and hearing Frank talking there. The context of results. Say we'd lost to Villa. And then they go on and beat Bayern Munich, and you think, oh, well, we weren't expected to do anything there. So you lose that game rather than draw it. But then we draw yesterday. And you're thinking, oh, once again, we've drawn against a team that's probably going to be mid-table like we did Fulham. It's only when you flip the results around, the match days around, that, it builds up this kind of sort of negative picture a little bit. But that's football for you, isn't it? And no, 90 minutes is the same.
But again, Clark is a right back. It's his natural position. It's his position. And you see that it's his natural position. You see that it's his position,
Comfortable.
and yeah, because he's got time on task. He's played it most of his career, and it shows it. You know, Dara O'Shea I thought did okay as a right back, but he very much looked like a centre back playing right back.
Yeah.
You know, but Clark's got that more balance to his game, and again, we need to start looking at our players and thinking about what's their best attributes and what's the attributes that fits the position, and are we getting the most out of it at the moment? And
I'd probably throw Clark in against Brentford next week.
I would.
I mean, that deep end, and maybe move O'Shea into the middle. Maybe. Well, I thought Wolfenden did okay.
I'd play 3 centre halves. I'd play 3 centre halves.
Yeah,
personally,
I'd
play 3 and play 2 wing backs and 4 in midfield. I'd clog up the midfield until you just get more solid and at risk of being more expansive. And some of the flair players, I'd look to just
yeah, it seems
as a tractor, plough up the centre of the pitch and make it difficult.
Yeah. I mean, certainly, tactics away have got to be a bit more impactful. But like we said in the week, just gone. We look back to England versus Greece. At the end of the day, Greece weren't thinking to themselves, we're against an elite side here. Let's try and match them toe to toe with a passing game. They countered England very well. Helped that England obviously didn't have a centre forward. They countered very well. And in the winning goal, as we said Friday night, once they keep hitting it long, the loose ball in the box, and then their striker sticks it in. I mean, give Delap that kind of opportunity. We've already seen in fashion excellent goals out of nothing. West Ham being one of them away from home. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of use your pace for the counter away from home and get the ball longer, for me, would be one of the solutions, maybe, rather than just, what we've seen previously. But Kieran will know all this. He don't need someone from Essex telling him all of this. Do you know what I mean?
No, absolutely. We'll finish with the voice of reason, Stephen Parry. Stephen, welcome in. As always, bring the measurement to the show. What you got for us today?
Cheer us up, Steve. You always cheer us up. Cheer us up.
Look, let's be realistic. And we are, at the end of the day, before the season started, we all said, best scenario would be like somewhere around 17th, 16th, 15th. Yeah. That would be like the best scenario, which means you're going to lose most weeks. That's just a recognised fact. Because if you don't lose most weeks, you're not there. Yeah. All you have to do is better than 3 other teams. Right now we are. Yeah. Wolves have got to play Man City at home. You would argue that's pretty much a banker, unless Man City decide not to play. And then Palace have to play Forest away, which is not an easy game for Palace, given Forest has played quite well recently, especially beating Liverpool. Yeah. So the odds are we'll still be 17th come the end of the weekend. Yeah. And is that disastrous? No. Is it terrible? No. Is it great? No. Was yesterday in Villa? Was yesterday in West Ham? Good. I discount the West Ham one because it's always a difficult place to go and play. They always throw up the odd result at their ground against certain teams. It's a very hard place to play. You know what I mean? And then they go and play Tottenham at Tottenham and get spanked. That's West Ham all over. They could be brilliant at their ground, and then when they go away, they could be bloody atrocious. Yesterday was a bit of an off one for me. I didn't think it was as easy as I thought because I saw them play Newcastle and I thought played really well against Newcastle.
Agreed. Yeah.
Against Newcastle. So they'd already turned a corner in my eyes, and we were going playing a side who had got confidence from playing a very strong Newcastle side and just coming out with a draw. They should have lost if that penalty had gone in, but I don't even think that was a penalty. You know what I mean? So they sort of got the penalty that they shouldn't have got last week. They got it overturned this week. You know what I mean? By not getting the penalty, which I don't think it was a penalty. I think Clark should have hit that a lot sooner. I think he tried too much too soon, too much with the ball. He tried to dribble through everyone. He tried to be Pele and go through every single player. Sometimes you've just got to hit it. Yeah, it might get a deflection and go to your player. Sometimes you've just got to hit it. There's no point going into traffic and saying, I've got to get out of this traffic. Just hit the ball. Sometimes a deflection will take it to your guy for a tap in. There was a lot of that yesterday. There were players running with, but Amari was the same thing, especially even when he was put out on the right. He was running at people. He was losing the ball. There was, that's what makes me worry if Clark gets played. There was an occasion when Amari was on the right and Clark was bombing past him. The easy pass would have been play Clark in, but Amari keeps hold of the ball, loses the ball, and Clark's gone. And the whole left side of the field was empty. If that pass had made it, Clark was nowhere and he was never going to get back. So there's a lot of that. But I look at it this way. We had more shots than they did. Yeah, we weren't clinical. They were. Fair play. You know, their shots, excellent. Can't take it away from the lads. Should they have been given the chances? No. Should O'Shea have nodded it back to Burns? I don't blame Burns. O'Shea was being marked by Njai. He was in control of that situation. He heads it back into play. Either force Njai out and let the ball go out of play, or just head it out for a corner. Yeah. There is ways to deal with that where you don't head it back into play, and then Njai's ready to move in, and Burns has then got a 2-on-1. What the hell's he going to do? You're just making the issue. You know, it's easier just to head it out and then we defend a corner. You know what I mean? There are ways of dealing with it. But I look at it as from, we're getting the chances, we're getting the shots, we are creating chances, we're just not having good chances, or we're not making good chances of them. And that's the difference in the Premier League. A lot of teams will have very few chances, but trust me, they'll bloody put them away. You know, and we're not helping ourselves by giving teams head starts, by making silly passes and silly mistakes. They need to be cut out. But the point is, we're just thickos on a podcast, and we know all these things that we're doing wrong. Yeah, we know that this is going wrong. This is going wrong. This needs improving. So I know for a fact, McKenna and his team will know that this.
Of course, yeah. And we're donuts, by the way, not thickos, please.
Eh?
We're donuts, not thickos, please.
No, it's not thickos.
I know. I want to be called a donut. That's what we know.
Oh, you be a donut. I'll be a thicko.
No problem. Agreed.
No, the top and bottom of it is I would rather know the problems, and then because then you know the solutions. Yeah. The problem is when you don't know what's going wrong. You know, when you're not creating chances and you don't know why you're not creating chances. We are creating chances, we're just not scoring them. So though we know what the problem is. We're making mistakes, so we're conceding goals. We know what the problem is. We know how to sort them out. We know what the problems are, so we're able to find out what the solutions are. That's probably a little bit more tricky than just going, oh, well, that's a problem, let's try that. I don't think McKenna knows his full 11 yet, and I'm convinced of that. Yeah,
that's the worry, though, isn't it, Steve? It's October the 20th.
After 8 games, not really. We've got to remember, we brought 12 players in, yeah? We played 26 players in 8 games, yeah? You know, he's trying to find the right balance, yeah? And everyone's saying, oh, this player should be going there. That doesn't make it any easier, yeah? He's trying to find the right... We might end up, Amari ends up on the right. We don't know. I know he says this now, yeah? We might find that. We might find Benny and Burns don't play. We don't know. He's going to work it out. It's going to take a bit of time. But I've always said in the Premier League, it's such a big step up. It doesn't matter how long you spend in the Championship. You know, you look at some of the teams who spent 10 years in the Championship and gone up, they've still got their asses handed to them. It doesn't matter how long. It doesn't matter how long you're in there for. Because when you get there, the step up in class of player is so huge. You've got to remember, Everton's been there, since the inception of the Premier League. You know, they've spent £1 billion in the last 10 years. Some would say they spent it on pathetic players. It's still £1 billion more than we've spent. You know what I mean? So, and they could only just beat us 2-0. Now, I tell you what, if my team had spent £1 billion over 10 years, I'd be expecting to beat a team better than 2-0. Yeah. And I'd be expecting more shots. Yeah. I'd be expecting us to play us like we did against bloody Oxford and get 30 shots. You know what I mean? That's what I'd be expecting. So I don't think we're in as bad a position as what people might think or people might expect just from the odd result. I think the chances will come. I think we will progress. All the players are new to the Premier League. All the players are learning. McKenna is learning. And if you think after 7 or 8 games, they're going to be the experts of knowledge and how to play the Premier League when there's players who've been doing it for 10 years, yeah, then you've got to think again. You've got to start reevaluating your position. I do think second half of the season will be better than first half of the season because you found that with Burnley last season. Burnley were better in the second half of the season than they were in the first half of the season. They got more of the wins in the second half than the first half because it takes you that length of time just to get to grips with the Premier League and just to find out how fast and how much things you have to change. Of course, we need points until then, but all we need to do is keep in touch. We don't need, we can be 18th. Yeah. So long as we're only a couple of points off 17th when it comes to the second half of the season, that's good enough. Because
Yeah, don't be cut adrift. Don't be cut adrift. I see what you're saying there.
We're in 17th. Let's just stay there as long as possible, get as many points as possible, fix as many problems as possible. Yeah. Like you said,
learn as much as possible.
We're building the plane while it's in flight. So we just have to keep putting little bits together while it's going.
Hello, Mr. Ashton. I didn't know you joined the call.
And another thing I'd like to say about what Frank said about foreign players, that was addressed by Mark Ashton. And he said there's a reason why. Because when you're a Premier League team, yeah, you need to have players who are used to English football. Yeah. If you bring in, like Brighton can do it because they've got players who are used to English football. They've already got a core of players who are used to English football. So they can bring in loads of foreign players who will take a lot longer to get used to the English culture, English style, English game. And you can't do that overnight. You can't do that as a newly promoted side. You look at every single newly promoted side. You say Burnley as an example, an exception, but they were doing that as championship. So they already had players who was doing it. It can be done, but to get the right ones, you probably have to, you're going to spend and you're going to get. It's going to take longer to get them used to the way football's played, and we didn't have time. So if it was like next year, we'd probably get a few more, and we're still in the Premier League. We'd probably get a few more. It's just we've got to stay up this season first. So I think he addressed it sort of in an interview we had ages ago. So I understand why we've gone down this route. We just have to make it work with what we've got, Okay. I'm positive. I'm confident. I still think we can do it. But even if we don't, it's no big hurrah. This money that we've got for this season will transform this club for decades.
Yeah, agreed.
We will go down as one of the big hitters. We will go down as a Leeds or a Southampton. Yeah, and teams will come. Teams will be scared to play us. And yeah, we've spent a lot of money, but maybe we have to sell a couple of players like Delap or Davis. That will cover the money. That will cover the money we spent. We'll get close to 100 million for those two, even if we went down. Okay. You've got Jorginho and Rutter went 40, and that was because it was on a bloody a release clause. So I have no problems. I think we will still survive, and I think we will do better than what people think we will. I think it'll be just. I think we'll be like gripping onto the Premier League drop zone with our fingertips.
Yeah.
I think we've got enough and we're capable of doing just enough.
Perfect. Steve, thank you very much for coming on the show this afternoon. As always, lots of love in the chat for you. Appreciate it.
Good, that. It was more positive now. Positivity. Apparently, that's what we needed. Some medicine. Yeah. Now we feel better. Apparently I like the cat as well. The cat was very stoic in the background.
Always. Yeah. Apparently, Sharon Guest has given us a stat. It was Wolfie's 200th appearance for Town yesterday.
Wow, that's fantastic.
And Mike Brown, Legacy Bates, half our goals have been 3 really bad play, gifting team goals. Cut those out and put players in the most dangerous positions, and I feel we'll start winning games. Appreciate the comment, Mike. Some great comments in the chat, some great conversation on the show. A really good show. We've discussed it. We've come back round to be positive again. Town are staying up. And all of that. We are also partnered with Stowmarket Osteopaths. Give Freddie a call. Tell him the governor sent you. 01449613633. Don't live life in pain. Give Freddie at Stowmarket Osteopaths a call and see if he can help. 01449613633. Matt, anything else before we depart?
No, I think we've had some really good comments in today. It's great to hear from Steve and Frank. I mean, it's interesting what Steve said there, like that £1 billion stat. We weren't that far long ago. Carlo Ancelotti was Everton manager, and look at him now.
Yeah, exactly.
Parity with Guardiola as the best manager in the world. So just good. That again goes to show that we're rubbing shoulders with huge clubs. I do hope we can stay in the Premier League. I really like it. I love playing like that. I really like Everton. I bought a program yesterday because I've always been Everton huge when I grown up in the 80s. So I've always quite liked them. I like rubbing shoulders with these clubs. But if we do go back down to the Championship, as Steve rightly says, you go down as a big hitter, you go down with the parachute payments, and oh well. Let's see what happens, eh? On to Brentford.
And this time next week we'll all be applauding and saying, what a great this, that, and the other is. And that's all we want for the football club ultimately, isn't it? It's all we really want. You can carry on the chat on our social media or on our Discord, become a YouTube member today. Hit the join button, $4.99. Cancel at any point. There are perks coming to being a member as well. Keep your eyes and ears peeled for those. But for now, you also get the Discord to carry on the chat. But he has been Mr. Matthew Phillips. I have been your host, The Gov. Thank you for watching. Thank you for choosing Talking Town. Thank you for being with us. Share to all your friends and family. And join us again next week for our match preview show and, of course, our match reaction. Subscribe so you don't miss any of the action. But until then, stay safe, stay well, enjoy your Sunday. Hopefully, Wolves will lose, but they're winning at the moment. And we'll speak to you all very soon. Goodbye.
You make me smile when I think of you. If I get down or when I am blue, I can't get enough. You make me happy, I feel so fine. Oh, how I wish that you were mine. I can't get enough. I woke up all soaked in sweat, weird chills running down my neck. I thought went crazy from just the thought of you. A long blonde hair